Hello, I'm jashykins, and I'm a little sick today, so if you hear and see me, sneezing and coughing, that's the reason why. But anyways, I'm jashykins, and another section of the green has been completed. And what's really noteworthy about this is the fact that we are about 2 to 3 sections away from being finished with the series. And don't worry, the Matthias will be in a crossover with a few other characters in another series. Well, different series, half of which haven't actually been written or outlined yet, so. And there will be a sequel to The Green starring one of the characters you meet in this series. But anyways, let's talk about the most recent section of The Green, spreading. Anyways, just a little recount of what happened in spreading is that Matthias and Plague, after the events of the previous section, Remnants, have sort of just been in a motel room and basically been told just to sit there and do nothing. And Matthias, being Matthias, doesn't like being stuck there at all. He wants to, stop Gralg and, find his true heritage. And Plague finally gets annoyed with this and is like, okay, listen, you give me a lead, we'll go there, and we'll do something. 3 months pass, I think around that time, and Matthias still has not found a lead. The most he has found is this conspiracy theorist website that sort of describes Gralg, but yet seems to describe something differently, having Gralg instead of being this attempted cure at different mental illness as really being a bioweapon, and what it's doing is what it was meant to do, and that is no fucking accident. But of course, Blake wouldn't like that website. That wouldn't really be considered a lead for him. So 3 months pass by, and Matthias has not found jack shit. And after he basically says, okay, yeah, I'll leave, Plague finally says, okay, listen, I'll find a submission, I'll find us something to do to get out. And Matthias is glad for 2 reasons. 1, he's finally going to get out. 2, he doesn't have to break up with Plague, which he does not want to do. He doesn't want to even consider the fact that he might, have to leave Plague. And so they're about to leave to the hospital in Gold City, Montana. And for those of you who are going to stupidly try to look it up, it doesn't really exist. It's a town I made up for the sake of this series. Okay. Anyways, before they leave for Gold City, Montana, Matthias and Plague step out of the shower, and Matthias is embarrassed because he sort of has erectile dysfunction, and so he's, of course, like all dudes, embarrassed that, he can't really raise it up, and he thinks that Plague will leave him because he'll think that he's not able to raise it because he doesn't love him. Plague reassures Matthias on the drive to Gold City that he won't stop loving Matthias just because he has erectile dysfunction and that there's, medications for it. So anyways, they arrive at the hospital in Gold City, Montana. It turns out that they're there because there's this woman that had been infected by Gralg, but hasn't been showing any of the symptoms. So Matthias and Plague and two of the interns, one whose name is Susan Helms, go up there, and so Plague and Matthias go into the room of the woman who happens to be pregnant, and both quickly notice that the woman ain't moving, and they end up getting attacked by the baby, newly born, that's starting to go on a rampage trying to kill both of them, and who most likely killed the mother. And so Matthias finally kills what he calls the blur just because, it's really fast. Ends up killing the blur by stepping on its head. And he's like, yay, it's Plague safe. He didn't die. But then he realizes that, the two interns come in, and he realizes that he's killed what amounts to baby, and he doesn't feel bad. So afterwards, they're just staying in the hallway because they just all that. And so they start discussing why that happened, because the woman, hadn't shown any symptoms at all. And so Matthias throws it out there that maybe, Grog ended up infecting her eggs, so that uh, she didn't show any symptoms, but she was still able to, she didn't show any symptoms, but she was still able to pass it down. And Susan does say, yeah, that seems to be in the correct time frame. So yeah, and then afterwards, Plague and Matthias get assigned the mission of trying to find Henry Johnson, who, the people in charge think he should have enough information about, dealing with stuff like Gralg. But it turns out that Johnson has, either been living off the grid or, going under a different name. So they have to find it. And of course, Matthews, right off the bat, is like, I'm up for it. Because in the previous section, Remnants, George Hunter had confused Matthews for John Johnson, who is Henry Johnson's son. So Matthews wants to get Henry Johnson merely to find out who he really is. So that was the green spreading. And the killer baby, yeah, that was a Dead Space reference. I got the idea from Dead Space. Killer baby, I thought funny. I thought, oh, I'd like a killer baby in my Sir Zombie series too. And so that's what I did. And I decided to name Susan Helms because I may or may not use her in the sequel. Remember, I have not yet outlined the sequel. So yeah, that's really it. And the next section is actually one of the sections I've been looking forward to writing for, well, since I started writing the series. It's called Love and Sex. And this section is actually going to deal with Matthias's sexuality. a little bit more. So yeah, it's interesting. And I've sort of been hinting at what's sort of going to be confirmed in Love and Sex in previous sections. So yeah. And if you're wondering, no, there's not going to be finding, going to find Henry Johnson throughout the majority of this section. This is sort of like a little break because I really wanted to do this section while outlining. And so I realized that after the section where we finally meet Henry Johnson, there would be no fucking time for this. It would be too fucking out of place. So yeah, and I don't know when I'm going to get to working on the next section. I'm sorry, I have other series to do and stuff, and yeah. But if you're interested in reading The Green, if you haven't already and this video has maybe sparked interest, it's available. It's on elixirphoenix.deviantart.com, my Deviantart. Then it's also on my main blog, jashykins.blogspot.com, which has this series and a shitload of other stuff. And it also has its own blog, gralg.blogspot.com. And finally, there's paper.li. I have one sort of paper there that sort of correlates this stuff brought up in, The Green, but not really perfectly, is Gralg Updates, and my username on that site is jashykins. So, until next video, goodbye, and now I'm going to do jack shit and just, recuperate. Until next video, goodbye.